Hey everyone, welcome to the Dare to Care podcast, the podcast where we talk about the inner workings of ministry at Inspire Family Fellowship and community stories within the church. If you have comments, stories, or questions about Inspire or our Dare to Care ministries at any point during our podcast today, feel free to send those questions to carol@inspirefamily.org. That's Carol with an E. We also invite you to join us in person at Inspire any Sunday or Wednesday that you're able, 523 North 21st Street, Bismarck, North Dakota. Our Sunday services are at 9:15 and 10:45. And we also have Wednesday night services at 7 p.m. My name's Ty Farnsworth. I am the worship coordinator here at Inspire Family Fellowship. Joined today by my co-host, the Dare to Care coordinator, Carol Johnner. You can say that a little louder.
Nope, that's okay. We're good.
Okay. And our youth assistant, intern.
Assistant.
Okay.
Assistant.
Isaac Rhoads. Isaac, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Good. So, Dare to Care podcast, we kind of walked you through it. How we typically do this is ask about your faith journey, how you came to faith originally or where your background is, and just the people along the way that helped you through it. And you feel free to name names, or you don't have to name names, but it's the Dare to Care podcast, and we want to talk about what Dare to Care means to you. And it doesn't have to necessarily fit the bounds that we have with Dare to Care, our intentions for Dare to Care, but people caring about you and what that has meant to you during your faith journey. So where did you start in faith? Where are kind of your earliest connections to the church?
Okay. So I grew up in a Christian family. My dad was a pastor for a time when we moved to North Dakota when I was around, I think, 6 or 7 years old.
Wow, I didn't know that. Another PK.
Yeah.
Pastor Kid. Yep.
Everybody's a PK in this
I know,
place.
we've had a lot of PKs on the podcast already, so that's awesome, Isaac.
Yeah. I was born in North Carolina, and most of my family's from Michigan. That's where my dad's from, and then my mom's from Mexico.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, we had a lot of moving around growing up. But when we moved to North Dakota, we moved to a small town named Regan. That's where my dad was a pastor for a few years. And that's kind of where my faith journey kind of really started. So my dad was a pastor there, town of 45 people. 7 of those people were my family members.
Oh, wow. So you knew everybody in your church.
So, yeah, we knew everybody. It was farming community.
Yes.
And then we moved to Bismarck later on, and my dad started a church called Victory Fellowship at the time. It was a multi-denomination church, and there were lots of different people from all over the place. There were some Spanish-speaking people, and my dad turned it into a multilingual church.
Okay.
But you're in Regan, 45 people, Bismarck at this point.
Yeah.
Multilingual church. How did that affect your faith growing up? I mean, do you speak multiple languages?
No, I know little bits of different languages.
Sure.
Don't know Spanish as well as I should, as that is like half of me, but...
I feel like Isaac would be one that would know Spanish. Like,
Yeah.
he knows he's always throwing out quotes and things, and I'm like, he's going to throw out Spanish one of these days. Just wait.
Do you feel like being a part of that multilingual community made it a better, more kind of fulfilling community for you, or did you feel a little separated from the people because of the language barrier?
I certainly think so. I've been always someone who has wanted to interact with people even if I don't really understand them. I know growing up I wanted to talk to adults more than I did kids, which is why I was put into some special classes for just speaking to kids, because I mean at the time it was they're immature. I don't really like talking to them.
Yep.
But I feel like being in that setting growing up really made me want to be there to support other people and help them grow too. I remember just giving out a stuffed animal to a missionary, even though I was just a little kid and I didn't really know how it would affect them.
So your dad being a pastor, did you feel connected with the Lord during that time in your early life, or was there a time later on, teenage years, where you really came to Christ?
Yeah, I certainly think so. I think it was a little surface level when my dad was a pastor in third grade. I was homeschooled for that year, and my dad had me read the Bible and then write like, it might have been a paragraph. It felt like a full page about like every single book in the Bible.
Okay.
But when I got into sixth grade, my parents got divorced. And then for a couple of years, then I kind of had a falling out with God, had a lot of trust issues as my mom moved away to California and got remarried. And my dad had us move around a few times in the span of a couple years. And I was in a rough place, and I wasn't talking to God. I wasn't really growing in my faith at that time.
And how old were you? I'm sorry, Isaac.
This was like sixth and like seventh grade
Okay,
year.
so like a middle school
Yeah.
age.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're probably angry and questioning God at that time.
Yeah, I was. And through some different trials, I came across a book that really helped me out in a time of need. And I began going to church again with my dad and my family, because my dad got remarried when we moved back to Bismarck from Minot, then Mandan.
Oh my.
And during that time, I started growing my faith, went on a missions trip to Missouri. And yeah, I grew in my faith then. And then for a time, it was kind of stagnant until high school. And then I started going to church here at Inspire with somebody, and then found many reasons to stay.
I forget.
Yeah.
That was high school. How many years ago was that, Isaac?
That was like 4 years ago.
No,
I
it
think.
was not.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I'm getting old.
Everybody's getting old.
Yeah, and now
You're
Isaac's
getting-
leading. He's leading middle schoolers
I
now.
know.
This is crazy.
It's crazy to me, because I talked a little bit about this last week on Sage's podcast too, but like I didn't grow up in the Inspire system. Kate did. It was before Inspire existed. But to see someone now who actually came through Inspire,
Yeah.
we've known you since you were in high school. We saw you through high school. We saw you start volunteering after high school. And now you're a part of staff. You're kind of the first real example of
Yeah.
Dare to Care, essentially, before it even existed, working in a ministerial capacity the way it's supposed to. So
Yeah, because you mentioned that you came here and then you just kind of stayed. And so what was it that made you stay? I mean, obviously growing in your faith is part of it, and the building is not everything, and the people aren't everything, but what made you kind of stay?
So there are a few reasons why I really felt like I needed to stay. I know I brought it up during my testimony here, but I was going through a little bit of a rough patch going into senior year. And the reason why I felt like I needed to stay was because I went on a run one time, and that's kind of my way of trying to catch up to my heart sometimes when I'm anxious or things like that, where I don't know what to do. I just need to go for a run. And it was like when you're driving your car and you're like, wow, my exit was back there.
Oh.
And I kind of just
Yep.
blanked out. I blanked out, and I was right in front of the church, and I was listening to a song, and I was like, wow, I'm meant to stay here. And this was when I lived up by like the North Cashwise in Bismarck. And
Isaac, that's a long ways. Yeah.
it's a
this
little
kid
weird.
likes to run.
Yeah.
But yeah, I felt like I needed to stay. During this time, I have kind of a rough family history, just as like my dad got remarried. A lot of the focus point was on his spouse and her kids. And then I was trying to navigate how I should be growing up kind of by myself until Inspire. And then I met a lot of amazing people. Jordan was somebody who definitely mentored me through some rough times. And through that, Josh, I'm actually roommates with.
I was
now.
just going to say, talk about Jordan. You're living with his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we got connected too, and there's lots of even youth that have been really influential in my life. who, even when I got baptized, ran into the water, even though they had like Hawaiian shirts on. And, the second those get wet, I mean, they're ruined. So I definitely got like a new family coming into this church that I really didn't have for quite some time beforehand.
That brings me, I remember now looking back, Isaac, you got baptized at camp, didn't you?
Yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit about that story? We know it.
Were you there for that year?
I wasn't there, but I've
all
heard the
I
story
remember
plenty
is
of times.
I was doing okay. First of all, I am a crier, right? We know that.
Really?
But the minute that I saw Isaac step forward, because it was kind of like almost like one of those altar call type, and I saw Isaac go forward, I lost it. I was crying because I don't think you had planned to.
No, I did not. So, yeah, some of my things that I like to do through like times when I'm bored or something, I'll start writing or I might doodle. And one of those times was when I was working as a CNA at Sanford Hospital. And I was just doodling on the back of a page. And I remember drawing it, and then I took a picture of it. And it was of like this little landscape. There were some trees in the background. There were some like cabins. And then in front of that, there was a lake, and there was a few people to the left and then a cluster of people to the right.
Oh my. And this was before camp.
This was before camp. This was, I think, February. And I soon after that stopped working there. And after graduation, I went to camp. They were doing the baptisms in the water. Ernie was heading it.
Yes.
And I felt a call to go in after the last call because lots of people like scheduled. They're like, yeah, I'll do this. But I was wearing some nice clothes because we had an event that night.
He was dressed so nice. That's why I was like, oh no, Isaac, your clothes. He didn't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
No.
I don't even remember if I took off my shoes or not, but I felt God telling me to go because for a while I'd been praying and asking what next steps I needed to take. I remembered being baptized when I was younger, but I felt like that was a step that I needed to take, and I felt the call to go in. And when I did, and I was being dipped into the water, this memory flooded in my head of me doodling, and it was of 3 people to the left and a cluster of people to the right.
And that's what that was.
And that's what it was, because as I was getting out of the water, it felt like Jesus was there with me right by my side alongside Ernie. And that's when Karsten, Jordan,
Luke,
and
Ben,
Luke,
all
Ben,
of them.
all of those guys came into the water too. And they embraced me off to the side. So it was something where it's like a lot of the million random things that I may do really pointed back to God.
Oh, that's 100%. That's what God wanted, because that, if you know, people won't know because they can't see, but that's exactly what camp looks like. There's little cabins in the background, that little pond of water, and he's holding up his water bottle. They can't see, but it's Camp Neboyodak sticker. That's where we were.
This is why we need to
Yes.
start filming these.
I know. No, I don't like to be on video. But that moment is exactly, that's why I asked if he drew that before camp, because that is what camp looks like. And for him to be in that moment and then recall that, that's a God moment 100%.
Yeah, that's such a, like I said, I've heard it a few times now that I feel like I'm, I don't know, desensitized to that story, but it's so cool to hear that and just visualize that moment in your life and how impactful that is and how much that means to you specifically, because that is your baptism moment where you basically envision this happening, and all of a sudden God is there with you in this vision and manifesting it. And you and I together last night, we were talking at the Bible study about God's promises and the fulfillment of God's promises. And to me, that's one of those moments where it's like God is not just telling you that something's going to happen, but proving that he has the power to make it happen, if that makes any sense. So you talked about Jordan and Josh, and you can continue to talk about them if you like, but I wanted to talk about people in your life, specifically moving this to Dare to Care. Are there any people who have really impacted your faith journey and you have these spectacular moments. Are there people that have helped you orchestrate these moments other than Jesus, or just people in the church that have really brought you closer to your faith?
Yeah, so there have been many people in my life that have been major influences. Lots of those people are in this church. Because I can think of both of your guys' stories and the way that you've been reaching out to me, even on a regular basis, where as staff, we might cross by, I might check in on you, bring up a really random quote or start.
But see, now my question is, does Ty get the movie quotes? Because I don't get the movie quotes. And
some of
Isaac
them.
just looks at me like sad. Come on, Carol.
Yeah. That happens quite a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, Isaac does. That's how he brightens my day.
Yeah, and I know there's times, Carol, that we've talked just off to the side, just some counseling things. In high school, Ernie was definitely that person for me, where he reached out when it truly mattered.
Yeah.
And there have been even some of the kids where I can listen to their stories, their testimonies, their confirmation speeches where, you might not have thought they've gone through those things, but seeing how God has been faithful through those circumstances has really helped me grow in my own faith. Even seeing some of the volunteers doing what they're doing, and then knowing what's going on in their lives at the same time is really a blessing to see them here.
We have awesome volunteers.
We do have awesome
And
volunteers.
that was him for how long? He was volunteering. You were leading middle school, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
So-
and now to have you on staff, it's such a blessing to just see, like I said, you coming through the youth system and sticking around. We have so many kids, and props to them to go off out of town, go to college and do things, but to have someone like you who sticks around and continues to be active in the program,
Yep.
and now seeing you be one of us, for lack of
Yep.
a better term, is really cool. And to see your faith continue to grow and expand as you move into adulthood is really inspiring to me, for lack of a better word.
Yeah. Isaac, I know you'd lead middle school, but you also have a lot of connections with a lot of our high school, like boys, men, boys, what,
Somewhere
And
in
so
between.
what I love is that what he said they have taught me things. And I know some of our high school kids, they don't think that they're doing anything for us, but can you explain that a little bit? Like, how have high schoolers helped you?
Yeah. So I remember one instance was in my senior year of high school. One of the major reasons why I wanted to stay was because of the camaraderie, the fellowship.
Yeah.
And one of those moments was, it wasn't even like a inspired trip. It was a like a percussion camp in Moorhead.
Oh, yeah.
And that's when I met one of our high schoolers, Ben Pesky.
Yep.
And I went to this percussion camp, and we met over some like silly interactions. And then after that, we had a good like friendship building up in the church. There were times that I was invited to different events with him and his friends.
Nice.
Where I felt accepted. I felt like I belonged.
Yeah.
And I thought that was such an amazing thing during that time, because I didn't really have that too much growing up. So seeing that here in this place has been such a great blessing.
Oh, yeah. Those boys are awesome.
Yeah, you were one of them at one point, but
Yeah.
we just have such an incredible group of high schoolers, and it continues to be an incredible group of high schoolers. So happy to have you be a part of it, and now continuing to be a part of it as a leader is, like I said, it's really,
And he
really
even works
cool.
the overnights, and he stays up all night.
Oh my gosh, tell me about it. I left
like-
at midnight, so
Don't
It
know
was
how
a
he
little
does it.
past that this last time.
it might have been 2:00, but that's okay.
No,
Isaac,
we're very thankful for Isaac.
We're so
that's for sure.
thankful for you. And I just want to close, I just want to pray for you and bless you and everything that you do here. So if you guys are listening, feel free to bow your heads in prayer. If you're driving, please don't close your eyes. But Father, thank you so much for Isaac and all of the things that he does here. Continue to bless him in his life, him and his household, him and his friends and his family, and help him in this stage of faith where there's so much pulling him aside from you. Help him to continue to grow with you, to continue to grow in maturity and continue to follow your path of faith. Help him to bless all of the kids he comes in contact here, all of the adults he comes in contact with here, and continue to use him to spread your glory to all the people of this place and outside this place. It's in your mighty name that we pray. Amen.
Thanks.
Thank you, Isaac, very much.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions about Dare to Care or today's podcast, you can reach out to Carol. That's carol@inspirefamily.org, Carol with an E. You are always welcome to join us in person Sundays at 9:15 and 10:45. You can also find us on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock. If you can't make it in person, you can find our streams on the website or on our Facebook page. But otherwise, come join us 523 North 21st Street, Bismarck, North Dakota. Otherwise, we'll see you guys next Thursday.